Let's go, let's go.
Good thing, yeah, I found that. Young king with my crown at. 10 racks in the fanny pack. Couple hundred in the Louis bag. Couple hundred need the G-Wagons. Big tax on my big spending. Big facts, no pretending. We back on the full sales. That good thing, yeah, I found that. Young king with my crown at. 10 racks in the fanny pack. Couple hundred in the Louis bag. Couple hundred need the G-Wagons. Big tax on my big spending. Big facts, no pretending. We back on the full sales.
Crazy flow, need a straight jacket. Cash flow, I'm a bank addict. 6 subs, had the bass smacking. 808s, had the place clapping. 3 girls is enough for me, so I pull out like the stock's crashing. Like an IPO, trying to purchase me. This a private sector, so you can't have it. Faking all that boom bapping. Who you think you is, boy? 90s want they sound back, so I give rap all these fake rappers as I take matters in my own hands. I don't need rapping, I don't need Zans. I don't need help, I'm a grown man. Now they king left and they so mad, it's like
good thing, yeah, I found that. Young king with my crown at. 10 racks in the fanny pack. Couple hundred in the Louis bag. Couple hundred need the G-Wagons. Big tax on my big spending. Big facts, no pretending. We back on the full sales. That good thing, yeah, I found that. Young king with my crown at. 10 racks in the fanny pack. Couple hundred in the Louis bag. Couple hundred need the G-Wagons. Big tax on my big spending. Big facts, no pretending. We back on the full sales.
yeah, hey, look what I got. New whip with no top. Cooking up no stove top. Ice cold, no snow
We're about
drop.
to get started. Come on in,
Big
you fucking
Big money in the
bitches.
contract. Been running no contact. New record with the new tracks. Yeah, they been sending me new plaques.
Yep.
I don't really need new plaques. Nah,
Uh-huh.
big rock with the suplex. Yeah,
Flex,
new rock
flex,
got a new
new
flex.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I'm current, I'm a new trend. Now boys with the full scent. Yeah, like I said, no new friends.
Fitness without the bullshit.
The sun is shining.
The birds are chirping. The
bacon
Papa Swole is
ready.
flexing.
Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome. Testing, 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 test, 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 testing, 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 test, 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 testing, test ickles, testing, 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 test ickles, a test ickles, a test ickles. Welcome everyone to episode 962 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular Swolecast, Beercast, Broadcast, Gangcast, Mancast, Pimpcast, Sleazecast, and Slaycast in the realm. Because, of course, when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. What is going on? My beaches, my booshes, my swole hoes, and my swole sluts, wherever you are. Hello, hello. Happy fucking Monday. I hope you had a great workout in. If you have not worked out yet, I hope you go and you have a great workout, because today a lot of you are off because people are celebrating present day. People are celebrating International Commerce Day, where we buy things for people that probably don't deserve them. However, enjoy your time off, but make sure you're getting your gains. I don't care if you got family in fucking town. I don't care if you got family in fucking town. I don't believe in any of that shit. I don't believe in Santa. I don't believe in any of the fluff around the holidays. I'm not religious. I'm not any of that stuff. But I do understand that you have time off. That's what I pick up. That's my fucking radar. That's my radar. I know you have time off. I know you fuckers have time off. I know you fuckers have time off. Happy Festivus. If anything, happy Festivus. If anything, this holiday season. It's a Festivus season. It's a Festivus for the rest of us. But make sure that you get your pump on. I do know that you have time off, so it's no excuse not to get your fucking pump on. And that being said, there's a brand new, the first thing in the episode is back beef. There's a new workout on the Gain Train. So if those of you that know about the Gain Train, go check it out. If you don't know about the Gain Train, that's the free training and nutrition blog. It's on swolenormousx.com. So you go over there, and what we'll do? I'll show you the Gain Train. I'll show you the Gain Train right now. Let me see. Let me move this. Let me move some things around here. Let me move this around here. Let me get rid of this. Okie dokie. Let me bring up the Gain Train. So let me bring up Gain Train blog. Hit the button here. Bling. Look at that. Look how fancy Papa Swole is. Great. All right, so this is the Gain Train on swolenormousx.com. If you're watching on Instagram, you're not seeing this, but if you're watching any other streams, you're catching it right now. So here's the Gain Train. Here's the main page, and the brand new post right here is the back focused volume session. And of course, the title is so casually and emphatically called back beef. This is just a straight back workout, by the way. So it's categorized under back and advanced, but you can also make it a little bit more intermediate, just adjust the volume. And if you are, let's see here. So if you're adjusting the volume, you might want to drop it down. You drop it down to 3 sets per exercise instead of 5. Obviously, for hypertrophy, volume is important. So you just don't want to jump into like a 30-set fucking workout if you're brand new to training. So this back workout includes, it starts off with pull-ups, either weighted or unweighted, but pretty much max pull-ups, and with negatives afterwards. And then with no rest, you're going right into dumbbell pullovers for supersets. So you're going right into heavy dumbbell pullovers, which is great for the lats and for the chest. It's great to open up after doing some heavy fucking negatives. So this is a brutal superset to start. And then you go into pendlay rows, which all the GIFs, all the training GIFs are just below it. This is the same type of content that you'll find inside Swolenormous X. So here's a training GIFs. That way you have a reference to what they are. Pendlay rows are explosive rows off the ground. I like those. And I did them actually wide during this workout. And then you're going to go to close grip pull downs, Papa Swolio rows, and you're going to finish up with wide cable rows. And I did a nice little hold there. So make sure you go check out the new back workout on the Gain Train. It's a great one. It's going to be, it's going to make you sore. It's going to make you sore for the next couple days. So if you're interested in slamming some back titties, that's where you want to go. So Gain Train blog, it's on swolenormousx.com, so you can go check that out. The main topic of this episode, I also want to get into. That being said, so now that we kind of clarified that, we got that out of the shway, I do want to talk about fitness research and research in general and some of the concepts behind fitness research and some of the logic, because I've been getting some comments and getting some feedback after my last YouTube Driving While Gaining episode on Jim Stepani and some of his wild and outlandish claims about 30 pounds of muscle gain in 12 weeks, as well as him maintaining 4% body fat, which is, 50 shades of fucking bullshit. That being said, and what happens and we're just going to jump right into it. So if you have comments or you have any kind of opinions or you saw the video and you want to drop some comments below, now is a great time to do that. When it comes to fitness research and research in general, I want to make it vividly and blatantly clear what research actually is, okay? And the difference between research and interpretation of research. Huge fucking difference. Huge difference between research and the interpretation. Anything and most things, I shouldn't say anything, but most things that you read in a magazine, in a blog, that even I reference, it's an interpretation of research. And that interpretation is going to vary from 0 to 10 or 0 to 100. It's going to be either a shitty interpretation or it's going to be a good interpretation. The problem lies with the fundamental research in itself. And most people assume that because it's published in a paper, because it's actually a research paper, or you'll look at the actual abstract and whatever was done, you assume it's accurate. You assume it's correct. You assume it was done properly. You assume it was done with the right methods and it was testing what it was trying to test accurately. But what you'll find with education, knowing how to read studies and digging in deeper, is a lot of these studies don't really go into or cover some of the variables in many cases. Like, they're shoddy research. They'll come with conclusions that, they'll allure, or how should I say allure? They will allow themselves or open themselves up to interpretations based on things that they didn't even cover in the study. For example, when you read these studies about whether it's creatine or glutamine or BCAAs, it'll be like, oh, this study group or this group gained muscle over this period of time. However, they didn't track diet. They didn't track nutrition. So they'll compare, this is just one example, they'll compare 2 groups or 3 groups of people during this study, and they'll show that, oh, when these people took this supplement, they gained muscle. When these people did not take this supplement, they didn't gain as much muscle mass, or this, that, and the other. However, they didn't account for diet. They didn't standardize the diet. They didn't regulate diet. They didn't track calories. So a lot of these times when you're studying a supplement or you're studying a workout protocol, there's absolutely no study or no microscope put on the actual diet. So these people are just going home and eating whatever. They're eating a lot or they're eating a little. And that doesn't even go into who's funding the study. So you'll have these studies that will conclude that maybe group C built more muscle over a 6-week or an 8-week period. However, they didn't account for these other variables. They didn't measure or monitor these other variables or standardize these other variables that are very, very important in determining whether or not that outcome would have occurred just by the supplement alone, for example. So what I want to clarify, and it doesn't mean there's not good research out there. Of course, there's good research, but there's also bullshit, garbage research. And there are a lot of holes that are being poked in research journals in all aspects of science that are not stringent enough in how they screen research coming in. So the research itself, in many different ways, has to be accurate, has to be done properly, and has to be done with the proper focus, and has to be measuring what it's trying to measure. And the reason why that sounds so confusing is you can't measure or do a study with 4 or 5 variables. In other words, studies are very, very specific for a reason. When you start expanding how many things that you're tracking, it becomes less of an accurate study. It becomes more of just like an observation and kind of like a shot in the dark. That's why when you look at a study, you look at a title, it's very, very detailed, and it's usually on one specific enzyme or it's one specific thing, because the more detailed a study is, the more accurate the research or the more accurate the response or the effect or the observation will be on that one specific thing. Now, when you have loosely done research and things that are not accounted for, it's already kind of a shaky research paper or research project in itself. Then you have people coming in that are reading this kind of shaky research to begin with, and they're sending their interpretation out to the world in blog format or making YouTube videos based on it. And most people don't know how to read research properly. And I'm not like top of the line. I'm not like an expert, infallible. I mean, there's a lot of statistics in there. It's hard. It's scientific. It's very, very detailed how to read a scientific study. You have to really put in work and practice and read them over and over again, to get better at interpreting research properly and knowing when research doesn't really cover all the variables or when there's something else that needs to be looked at further. And the interpretations can really go wild. The interpretations can go wild because whatever your belief is, whether it's vegan versus carnivore or meat versus no meat or supplements versus no supplements, you're going to find some kind of research that backs your opinion. You're going to find some type of research that backs your belief. That's why there's a lot of a stalemate in many different instances, because you could find research that either supports your theory or that goes against it. So every side has research that you can shift your direction. So you can write competing articles and cite this study, and you can cite this study. So there's always, as long as you can cite one study that supports your view, there's always going to be this kind of like rebuttal. And most people don't have the entire library of research in their brain when they're making an argument. You haven't read everything. You haven't analyzed everything. Who has that kind of fucking time? Unless you're writing a book on it or that's your life, you're not going to cover every aspect of research. You're not going to know everything, and you're not going to be able to, reference everything right away from the top of your head. So you have people that are finding things that fit their argument. And that happens all the time. And those things that fit their argument might not be quality research. They might not account for calories, or the types of food the person's ingesting. They might not be accounting for what they're doing outside of the times that they're in the lab, being observed. There could be a lot of loopholes. And then you have people that are using that research, making videos, and they could have good educational background, like the video I made on Jim Stepani at a PhD in nutrition or whatever. But he references commonly research that is faulty, that is bullshit, and it supports his beliefs. And a lot of times these studies are even funded by companies that promote the supplements that they're actually testing. So it's very, very heavily biased. And that's where this research money comes from. Research is not cheap. It's not free. So most of the time, the people that want the research done are the companies that produce the products that they want research to support. I mean, how much money is out there for BCAAs or glutamine? I mean, it's not like there's just tons, and it's not like cancer research where there's tons and tons of money being pumped in. This is more, it's almost like more specialty because it's not required for survival. So there's a lot of support from biased sources. There's a lot of studies being funded by these supplement companies or these pharmaceutical companies that can stand to benefit from said studies in their favor, which also lends to some bias. Who knows how the study is skewed in order to lead to that said conclusion. So what I want to really kind of bring about is not necessarily some, this is true, this is false, I'm giving you a straight answer, but I want you to really keep the lens and the filter on who you listen to and who you pay attention to. I'm not saying that I'm always right, and I'm not saying that I'm always wrong either. Every human being on this planet is fallible, okay? And it's important to understand what research actually looks at. Good research looks at one specific thing in one specific instance. Research is not an answer. And that's how most people use it, especially in blogs, especially in podcasts, especially in YouTube videos. They use a piece of research as, here's proof, this is the answer. That's not what research is. Research is not an answer, it's an archive. Okay? It's an archive that gets added to the collective knowledge of human beings on this earth. It's just one more piece of straw. It's one more blade of grass. It's one more grain of sand in the bucket of knowledge. That's why research is done over and over again on certain topics, right? It's done on 35 to 45-year-old males. It's done on 45 to 65-year-old females. It's done on athletes versus non-athletes from 25 to 35. It's done in many different ways, dissected in all different ways, and each one is not a specific answer. It's an observation based on the variables that they are testing and observing. That's why the quality of the study makes a big difference, but it's also why you can't just reference one study and be like, see, this study showed this, blah, 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 now I'm right. That's not how research works, but that's how most people use it. Most people swing research as their knowledge dick, but that's not what research is for. Research is just one piece of the puzzle. It doesn't give an answer. And the problem with social media and all these references, it looks nice if you write a blog or you do a podcast or a YouTube video, and then in the fucking comments or in the description, you have a couple references. Oh, he's referencing this study done on keto. He must know what he's talking about. This must be correct. There was a study on it. Oh, sure. Who is it funded by? What were they studying? How many different studies, what was the population size? Was it done on 100 fucking people? There's 7 billion people in the world. That's not an accurate representation. What was the age range? What were their habits? Did you monitor? There's so many different things that you need to be calculating and taking into consideration. And any one of those things that could be an additional variable, that's why. If you didn't take into account age, then that study is not an answer. If you didn't take into account the volume of calories, like the caloric quantity in whatever diet study, that's a huge difference. If you didn't take into whether they're smoking or drinking, that's a variable. If you didn't take into account their exercise habits, that's a variable. If you didn't take into account their genetics and their predisposition, that's a variable. If you didn't take into account stress, that's a variable. There are so many different variables. That's why each piece of research is just a grain of sand. It's not a fucking answer. It's just a piece of the puzzle. So as you go through your fitness journey, you're going to listen to my podcast, you're going to hear other people talk, and there are people that are going to talk about research in a very unbiased way. They just bring it to your attention. And that's how many times if I discuss it, that's how I like to approach it, because I don't have the fucking answer, but there's stuff coming out all the time. And if you're looking for an answer, if you are looking for an answer when it comes to research, right? If you want to believe, you want so badly for veganism to be the answer, you're going to find research that supports it. If you want to find research that supports eating meat and eating, grass-fed beef and this kind of you're going to find the answer. You're going to find it any way you look. You're going to find things that support your beliefs. And that's why there's so many different beliefs, because people hold on to and they cling on to research, even if it's shoddy, because it supports their theory. And it's very easy to throw out research because how many people actually look for it? How many people actually research or go into these studies? When you buy a supplement or you go into a GNC or Vitamin Shop or something, and you look on the back of some of these products, it will actually reference the study. They'll put that little cross or the little asterisk, and you look on the back and it'll actually list the study. How many people are going to fucking go back and read it? How many of you are going on PubMed and looking up that study? Or you're going to go home and go to their website. It says, oh, the studies and research are located on our website, blah, blah, blah. Are you going to go home or pull out your phone and go to their website and go to the study that's linked and right in the supplement shop? You're going to go through and read the abstract and check out the data and check out the statistics and the fucking p-value and, that standard deviation is a little bit high. You're not going to overanalyze the study. You're just going to be like, is this a good price? Oh, so-and-so said it works. Let me take it. Let me swallow it. It doesn't mean that's going to work for you. You have to be very, very careful when it comes to research, because that research can oftentimes be funded by the company. It can have tons of holes, more holes than a fucking strainer. You're going to, you're just going to, you're going to cover your own face with a veil. Don't create more barriers to your success is, I guess, the overall theme of today. And the only reason we're talking about this right now, well, not the only reason, it's important, but because I've been getting a couple questions based on that. It's like, well, who do you trust and who are you supposed to trust? I mean, if you can't trust someone who has a PhD or an MD, then who do you trust? People are fucking people, okay? I went to college with a lot of fucking dumbasses. I have a degree. What does that mean? Okay, I could still say dumb shit just because I have a degree. If you're an MD, you could still say dumb shit. You could still get a TV show. You could still, a DR, MD, a PhD doesn't mean you're not going to say dumb shit. Doesn't mean you're not going to be swayed by certain personal interests and biases. Just because you have any of these letters doesn't mean jack shit. We have the internet. Every single person on this planet is pretty much as smart as anyone else if they want to be. All you gotta do is take out your phone and do a Google search, and you can have the same information as everyone else. It used to be you had to go to a university and absorb the information there, go to the library and sit there and learn. Okay? Well, now everyone can just pull out their phone, ask Siri, and then boom, you'll have the answer. So it's the interpretation of that information that's really, really important. And to understand that research is not an answer is, I think, lost on most people, especially when they start spouting things and they start referencing things when it comes to fitness and health and nutrition on the internet. Research is not an answer. It's an observation on specific variables, and that's it. It's like a snapshot. It's like doing a blood test. A blood test is stupid for most people. You're just taking a snapshot of your blood at that one time. If you really want to get blood work done, you need to be doing continuous blood work for like every day for like a month, every week. You have to be monitoring yourself. You can't just take a snapshot. It depends on when you ate last and your stress levels, and there's a lot of different factors. And when you go to the doctor once a year and you just get a freaking picture of your blood, that's not going to tell you accurately. You fluctuate and hormones fluctuate and enzymes and shit fluctuate during the day. So it's the same thing with the research study. That study took a picture of X, Y, and Z in that moment on those specific variables. And if there's too many variables, it's not that accurate of a study. It's more of like an observation, and there's more research that has to be done. And that's why there's a lot of continuing studies on all these different topics, because you have to be focusing on studying a different area and a different aspect. You have to focus on the age groups or the workout itself or the nutrients or the type of nutrients. Are you studying someone that's consuming animal products? Okay. Are they grain fed? Are they 100% grass fed? Are they meditating? Are they not meditating? Are they exercising regularly? Are they not exercising regularly? There's a lot of different factors when it comes to health. Are they smoking? And, a lot of these research, for example, when it says, hey, these people didn't eat meat and they lost weight and they did this, well, they're also eating crap, garbage, processed meat, grain-fed beef. They were smoking. They were lazy. They weren't working out. So what's really what the study is showing? The study is showing that just really the effect and observation, it's a correlation. It's not a cause. It's not an answer. And that's what most research is. It shows one shade and one possibility, which leads to more research. That's why research is still going on. And the general public puts way too much stock in human knowledge. And that's not that we don't know a lot. We do know things, but we also continuously discover, holy shit, we didn't know that. We didn't know this. We didn't know all these things. In the grand scheme of things, we know jack shit. We really don't. You want to know how much we know? We don't even know what the fuck is like outside of our planet. Like we're completely fucking lost. There's so much shit. We haven't even figured out 99% of what's fucking out there. And we're just like, keep our head down and our little egos inflating like, oh, we have this answer. We have this answer. We don't really know what the fuck is going on. We're just trying to create order. That's why we keep on studying things so we can try to piece together these, common themes. So just keep that in mind when you're reading research or you're hearing someone quote research. That's fine. They can still reference it. That's fine. But just be very careful when that reference starts becoming, this is the answer because X, Y. That's not how research works. Okay. Research does not work like that. It's not, we did a study, it proves this. No, we did a study, it shows that this blah, blah, blah. That's it. It shows that this, we tested these things and it resulted in this. That's all research does. We gave these people this thing, this happened. That's it. That is it. That's all research does. It doesn't give you an answer. It's unbiased. It should be. It doesn't give you any kind of cause. It doesn't give you proof. It's not fucking proof. It's not law. It's just because what if the study was done poorly? It's not fucking law just because a study was done. If it was done poorly, and even if it was done very, very well, it's still one study, one observation that's tracking these specific variables. And this was the result. That's all a study does. But then you get people on YouTube, podcasts, blogs, and the like, and they take that research and then they talk about it. And this study shows that if you take this amount of, this many grams of that, then all of a sudden you're going to build more muscle. Not necessarily, especially when you go back and look at the research and it's got more fucking holes than Swiss cheese. Like, what's this person referencing? But most people don't see that. Most people aren't going to go that far. Most people aren't going to go that far to look at the research, and most people wouldn't even know what to look for when they got there. Okay? It's not easy. It's almost like another language if you're not used to it. So it's important to understand what studies actually do, what research actually means, and how to view it when someone starts using research like it's a fucking sword. It's not. So don't worry about it when someone's like swinging a big study in your face. Oh, this. There's a lot more that we have to learn. And it doesn't mean don't believe anything, but you should absolutely ask questions. You shouldn't just believe someone just because they fucking said it. You shouldn't just believe someone because they have an MD after their name. You shouldn't believe someone just because they have a PhD. That just means that other people taught them. That's all it is. It means you went to school longer and you read what other people did longer. PhD, you wrote your paper, you did your own research, and you wrote a dissertation. A lot of old people were like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, and you got your PhD. Like, it's just more school. Come on, most of you went to school. You went to high school at least, and college. You know what fucking school is like. It's writing papers, it's reading books, it's doing research and being in the field and doing things and, getting approved by other people, and you got a good grade, so you get letters after your name. It's like any kind of certification. You're not a different person. You just you put in more work. Okay, great. That's why experience really wins out, because you can't, experience always wins out. And that's why a lot of things with bro science, that's why many times I like to, call out bro science. And I'm not like against, all the bro science. People are in the field doing shit. So it's one thing to believe everything in a study. It's another thing just to believe everything anecdotally, like what other people say. But a lot of this is you have to cross-reference. You have to try things, okay? So just because it's in a study doesn't mean it's bullshit. Also doesn't mean that's correct, okay? It's just one piece of the puzzle, and then you have to add these things together. And of course, if you're doing study after study after study, and it keeps on showing that this result and this result and this result and this result, and you're like, man, that's super, super consistent. If you have 50 or 60 studies or whatever it is, over and over again, it's showing a positive result in this direction, you can start making some more assumptions, but it's still not a cause. It's just more direction. It's more direction towards this being more of a truth. But truth is a very iffy word. So it pays to be skeptical. It pays to understand who is delivering the information, what the information actually means, and hopefully that will open up some of your minds to what's actually being discussed when we talk about a study, okay? Just remember, a study is not a cause. It's not proof. but that's how most people wield studies. And that's a dangerous thing because everyone likes to have a study that supports them because they can talk more confidently about it. So a lot of times the delivery, how loud someone is, how many followers they have on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, what letters they have after their name. Are they famous? Of course, you have a famous person that has a PhD and they'll say things and people just take it for face value. Well, so-and-so said this. So-and-so is a human being. So-and-so read some studies. So-and-so could have read the studies wrong. The studies could have been done poorly. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different reasons why that might not be fucking just biblical. Like you can't just blindly believe shit that a human being says. Okay? Some things will make more sense, but you have to understand that a lot of times there's a lot more research that needs to be done. And it's hard nowadays to get some unbiased research because people have agendas and everyone is swinging. Everyone wants attention from social media. It's tough. It's tough, but you have to be aware of what's out there. And a lot of times there's some sketchy shit going down. Dapper Dova on Instagram, seems like a lot of people I know will use, quote, research to justify going to the gym less often or to justify their personal opinions. Of course. But that's what most people do. Look, I have personal opinions, and it's okay if everyone out there, most people in the world will have a personal opinion. There's nothing wrong with a personal opinion. However, a lot of people say their personal opinion so forcefully, and they don't clarify that as their opinion, and they reference a study, and then people just take it as fact. So most people don't know what research is. Most people don't know how a research study is done. 99.9% of the population of the world has no idea how a research paper is actually done, how it's set up, what it's actually studying. So like when you do understand how a research study is done, you realize, oh, it's just observing, it's focusing on one specific thing, and you write a hypothesis. And it's like, all right, if we do this, what will happen to this? And you observe it, and boom, there's your study. We studied this, we did this, we accounted for this, we attributed for these variables and these controls, and this was the result. It doesn't mean, when you do this, it just proves that this supplement works or this enzyme is important. No, it just showed that when we do this, this is higher, this is lower. That's it. And fundamentally, if there are variables that are not accounted for, that study becomes more, we have to account for those in a future study. So a lot of these studies are very loosely done and they don't account for important variables. And then other people come in, use that study as proof or a cause for whatever they're trying to find support for. So exactly, Trisha, it's data, 100%. And there's a lot of individuality. There's a ton of individuality and there's a ton of, from person to person, especially with nutrition. But this is a conversation that isn't going to stop. We're just getting started. And one of the things with having social media and having the interwebs is that there's so much information out there. So you have two things. You have, okay, there's so much information out there. What rises to the top? That's got to be true, right? The most popular stuff, that has to be true. But we also know that there's this mob mentality with human beings. People want to have a team. They want to have a system. They want to be with the popular group. They don't want to be the outcast. Like high school. You don't want to be the person that's in the corner. You don't want to be the person that no one hangs out with. You don't want to be the smelly kid, do you? No one does. So it's very easy to find your team and find your tribe. And we talked about food tribalism, right? With vegans, carnivore, paleo, keto. You have people that really create their identity around what they believe. So when you have your identity wrapped up in what you believe, whether it's religion, whether it's nutrition, whether it's training styles, then you are really closed-minded to any new information. So I really, that's why when I talk about nutrition, that's why it comes down to, what are you seeing yourself? You can't trick your own study. And what I mean by that is, you don't have to wonder and ask, well, is keto good for me? Why don't you fucking try it? Is paleo good for me? Why don't you fucking try it? That's why the elimination is so important. That's why I want everyone to start with that, because you don't have to go searching through all the records and all the things to figure out what's the best way to eat, because there is no, quote, best way. You need to put in the work to figure it out. And that's why I'm trying to empower all of you to do some of these things and do the research yourself, but like implement and eliminate foods and observe what you actually and how you react. It's fine. If you feel great and you want to be a vegan and supplement with B vitamins or whatever, there are people that love it. Okay. If you want to eat quality animal protein, people love it and they're healthy. And one doesn't mean the other. We do know that exercise is important. Meditation and mental health is very important. Mobility is very important. Eating real foods, not getting tons of antibiotics and pesticides. These things are very important. And that's where that's where the focus needs to be on what you're eating. And the most important thing is I see people today in the gym. It's like, God, just fucking bloated stomachs, and like tight, pregnant as a dude. You should not have a pregnant stomach. Like there's some serious gastrointestinal issues in this country. And it's coming from the food. It's not coming from the caloric intake. You don't get one of those tight, puffed out, fucking bloated stomachs because you eat too many calories. That's massive bloating. That's inflammation up the fucking, it's crazy. It's craziness. And the focus has to shift on what the food is made of, not counting calories, not micromanaging food. It has to come down to what you're eating. So the power is in your hands. You can test these things yourself. You can test different styles of eating. You can test different types of food and food sources. You can test these things. You don't just have to follow the leader. You can test it and try it and see what works best for you. And that's power. That's power. That's good fucking news. That means you can figure out exactly what works best for you. You don't have to follow just someone else. You don't have to be like a lemming. Don't be a lemming. Let's see here. Do you consider eggs a part of dairy when you cut out dairy? No, eggs are not dairy. I don't know when that got like mixed up. Eggs are absolutely not dairy at all. I don't know why that ever got lumped in with dairy. Not at all. Not in the slightest are eggs dairy. Some people, eggs are a problem for some people, whether they're pastured or not. First off, if you're eating eggs, you should be eating pastured eggs, not pasteurized, pastured eggs. And some people don't really react well. I mean, I get gassy when I don't really eat eggs that frequently. I don't think I really agree with eggs. Every time I've kind of had them after a while, I think I feel a little bit more gassy when I have eggs. So I rarely go after eggs, honestly, lately. I've had them very, very infrequently the past year, and I feel fine. I don't really crave them. Every once in a while, I'll have them if they're being made for me. I haven't gone out of my way to make eggs, though. I'm currently cooking eggs and white rice for my pre-workout meal. I used to like eggs and white rice together, but rice just gives me no value. I had rice recently and just it's like chewing sand. I just don't feel like it digests well for me. I just love sweet potatoes so much. It's just fucking the god of gains makes sweet potatoes. Fucking love it. I don't know why eggs would be considered dairy, Jason. I don't know. It got lumped in with dairy a long time ago. I think it was just marketing or something. I think people just put like the glass of milk next to eggs, probably like a whole breakfast thing, and people just started calling it dairy because it comes, I don't know. It's weird. But that's, yeah. A lot of people probably still think that eggs are dairy. What's the difference between the two eggs? Well, what the animal is and how healthy the animal is a massive part of the quality of the food, just like grain-fed beef and grass-fed beef. Pastured eggs and farm-raised eggs, it come from sick animals. So you have a lot of antibiotics, you have a lot of processed feed, devoid of nutrients. There's more omega-3s in quality animal products. You're not getting all the residue. You're not getting bacteria and any other kind of sickness passed down from the animal. It's just, there's people that have been in the private community here that had rashes, eczema, and issues from having grain-fed beef, processed meats, farm-raised hens and eggs and stuff like that. When they're packed in, there's like thousands of chickens into a small area. And they switched from that, not to going vegan, but just to going to quality grass-fed, 100% grass-fed beef or pastured eggs. And it cleared up their issues, their migraines or inflammation, whatever markers that they had, because a bunch of people have had that specifically, not from changing or eliminating the food, but improving what the food is and the quality of the food. So think about it. Would you want to eat roadkill on the side of the road. That's like rotting flesh. That's what you're getting when you're consuming grain-fed beef and farm-raised chicken and eggs. You're getting sick animals that are borderline dying anyway. Like they're slaughtered just before they would fucking die because of the antibiotics, the fake food that they shouldn't be eating. So they're sick animals. And if you want to eat the byproducts of sick animals, go for it. But it's not good for you. That's for damn sure. Have I ever tried cream of rice? No. Nope. No, it doesn't appeal to me at all. I know of it. Yeah, because it's probably like pre-digested, just pure like sugar or starch, just like injection. Yeah, I never ate that stuff. I think like these bodybuilders or these like, pro bodybuilders used to do that stuff. No, I like sweet potatoes. That's really like the only major like carb that I consume. I love them. I just love them. That's me. You can have white rice. It's not going to kill you. That's for sure. So some people like it. I just know that if I compare, consuming white rice versus a sweet potato, I just like a sweet potato more. I feel better. I have more energy. My muscles feel better. I feel like I recover better. I like it better. So what store-based food would you consider eating for losing weight? Just went over that, dude. Just went over that. Store-based food. I mean, everything's store-based unless you like own a farm. Grass-fed beef, sweet potatoes, vegetables, standard shit, man. No doubt. Don't complicate your nutrition. Don't complicate nutrition. Cut out processed dairy, cut out processed meats, cut out sugar, no processed carbohydrates like breads, no pastas. If in my personal opinion, if you're going to consume rice, consume white instead of brown. I like sweet potatoes best. You can have things like other resistant starches like yucca is great. Like Anthony was mentioning, I cook my sweet potatoes and you let it cool off because the starch is more resistant, so it's not as impactful on your blood sugar levels. So it's it digests really well, and it's a convenient food. You just fucking grab it in your hand, eat it. I eat the skin too. So when it comes to your nutrition, but that's why you do an elimination. This is a result of me testing which foods I like the best. So I love things like salad. I like salad and broccoli sprouts. I love avocado and olive oil. So I love healthy fats. I eat a lot of fat. I love bone broth. Make my own bone broth. My cuts of meat, 100% grass-fed, very fatty. So I have a lot of fat in my diet. But I'm not in ketosis. I don't like the ketosis per se. I've done it before, and not a fan of that for strength training and for weightlifting. But if you do ketosis, make sure you come out of it. You shouldn't be in ketosis all the fucking time. So, we talked about that, I believe it was yesterday, how ketosis is a survival mechanism for your body. So it's important to go in, go out, make sure you're saturating your body, getting your carbohydrates and things. So, in closing, understand that your nutrition, your personal nutrition should be something that you are pursuing. You're not going to be an expert. Okay. You're not going to be an expert in your nutrition. You're not going to have everything figured out right away. That's one of the things with nutrition that people assume. They're going to do a diet plan. They're going to do keto or paleo and boom, they're going to have it figured out. You could be doing keto, paleo, vegan, whatever it is, and be consuming highly inflammatory foods for yourself. If you're doing an elimination, you can figure that out and then pursue the nutrient timing. Then you can try intermittent fasting, see if you like it. Then you can try ketosis or paleo. There are other methods and there are different styles of eating that can vary from person to person based on your lifestyle and based on your goals. Okay. However, I'm not saying, again, in all my trainings and all my videos, all my content, I'm not saying that you should never, ever, ever count calories. I'm not saying that it's not important, but fundamentally you need to be eating the right foods. And then after you figure those out, then you can start looking into, what your macro ratios are and how many calories you're consuming. If you're trying to bulk, of course, you need a caloric surplus and be eating enough food, enough protein, but you need to know which proteins your body reacts to best. You don't want to be pounding eggs and have indigestion and feel bloated because that's going to affect your body's absorption of nutrients if you have inflammation. If you have a lot of inflammation in your gut, it's going to affect you losing weight. But what a lot of people don't understand is that if you have inflammation, it's inflammation in your small intestines. It's going to affect how your body is absorbing nutrients. So if you have a lot of inflammation, it's going to affect how you build muscle too. It's going to affect how you grow and gain weight. And we're talking about good weight, because if your body is inflamed your cell walls are inflamed in your intestines, and you can't absorb nutrients properly, how are you going to build muscle? How are you going to make gains? It's going to be a lot harder. So some of you hard gainers out there, they're just pounding garbage, something to think about. Is your background new on the walls as far as no, that's everything on the walls has been there for over a year. Let's see. So like I say, I want to lose weight, but not lose 200 pounds, but eat healthy until I get fit. Cool. Can't get massive gains due to back pain. Started listening to you and started yoga and glute activation. Back pain died down massively for me. I'll take those mad gains. Yoga is a game changer. It's like anyone who's not practicing yoga, if you want to make a promise to yourself for the next couple months, start practicing yoga regularly. It will be a game changer for you. Yoga will be an absolute game changer for you. Absolute game changer. Fam, I will be out of the Swole hole tomorrow. You will have a podcast available. I'll try to broadcast live and say what up, but the podcast will be posted and available, but it won't be like this. I'm not going to be here for the podcast. So it will be available online. You'll be able to see it. So just make sure you're subscribed to the podcast for tomorrow. If you're not subscribed already, go to swolenormousx.com, click on podcast, and you can subscribe on the app of your choice. So you will see it available. I'll be stopping in. I'll probably go live for a few minutes and say what up, but you can just access the podcast tomorrow when it streams, and you'll get notified on your app. So hope you have an enjoyable day or two off, or 3 days off, or 5 days off, or a week off, whatever you're doing. Just make sure you stay focused. Make sure you stay focused. Make sure you stay on your tip. Don't be slacking. Don't be getting back on your heels. I do know that a lot of you are just burnt the fuck out after months and months of hard work, and this might be your only time to kind of kick back. So I am not knocking you taking time off, but I really, really highly suggest, if you're not going to the gym and you're going to use this as, I'm going to take a week off, do yoga, do mobility, do your foam rolling, do your meditation, do your shit. Don't just punch out completely and completely let everything go to fucking hell, because you're going to regret it. You're going to feel stiff. You're going to feel achy. Don't go into the new year slacking. Don't go into the new year slacking. Whatever you want to, if you want to celebrate the new year and treat it like that, like I mentioned, we're going to start the new year December 30th. So fuck everyone else. We're going to do it 2 days early, but make sure that you're staying on track, and you're not going to be losing your mind and just fucking eating like a lazy bitch. You know what I'm saying? I think you do. Well, thank you everyone for joining me for episode 962 of the Most Muscular Swolecast, Beercast, Broadcast, Gamecast, Mancast, Pimpcast, Sleevescast, and Slaycast in the realm, because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. I will be here tomorrow. Just catch the podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you can get it delivered right to your podcast app, swolenormousx.com. Click on podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, everywhere. And I will see everyone tomorrow for episode 963 of the Daily Swole. Peace, McGee's fam. Deuce Magoose, your boy, Papa Swole. Out.